How's it going, everyone? Hope you guys are all doing well, especially given the circumstances going on around in the world. I wanted to do a video today to show you guys and kind of update you on what is going on with the C55. Now, I know I haven't done a ton of videos in the past few months, but like I said in my previous video, been so busy doing house stuff and building that deck in the backyard and just doing a bunch of other things. But I am slowly, the project for that is slowly slowing down, so I will be getting back into more automotive themed projects and hobby or tasks, I guess, when I have some free time. But basically the Mercedes, so I had anticipated on doing quite a few videos with this car over the past month or so, and I've been dealing with a battery drainage issue, and that's kind of the topic of today's video. So you can see here the battery is completely dead in this car, and this battery is brand new. So this all started probably, I want to say, late April, early May. The car, I just thought it sat a little too long and the battery died, because the battery is like a little over a year old, but even then it was kind of premature. So then I got a new battery replaced under warranty, and that battery died, I'd say, within 2 weeks, and I had driven the car several times. It wasn't sitting for an extended period of time, so that led me to believe there was definitely something going on, like some sort of parasitic drain going on with the battery. So just to show you guys how dead the battery is, and peep my workbench here, you can see it is just cluttered with stuff from all the projects I've been working on. But so just to show you how dead the car is. So again, no lights on coming inside. Normally you get your little electronic ignition kind of. Car is completely dead. So nothing. So I'm gonna open the hood and I'll show you guys with a multimeter just how dead the battery is. So apparently this is a really common, or not really common, but it is a known problem with a lot of Mercedes, but especially the W203 chassis, is some sort of parasitic power drain, and I'll get to the root cause, or at least what I think the root cause here is, in a second. But let's go ahead and just pull this cover off. It's already kind of loose because I've been testing the battery. I even tried to trickle charge it back to life, but this battery is so dead that my trickle charger doesn't even recognize it's a battery. And again, show you how cluttered the garage is. I barely have any space, but got a new hood for the Corvette, so that will be installed. And yes, the car will be painted. It is going to be a dark blue, just like the go-kart. But for now, I will have a Ronald McDonald themed Corvette. Let's grab the multimeter. So let's see how I'm going to do this, because it's kind of hard to jiggle all of this at once. Oh my gosh. That is so bad. Alright, well, Alright, this is almost comical. So I have the positive terminal resting, or the positive cable resting on the positive terminal, same with the negative. This is quite literally the voltage coming from the battery. And as you know, that should be 12 volts or right around there. So that is just how dead the battery is in this car, and that's why I have not been able to drive this thing, because if it's got a drain it's that severe, it's obviously going to drain the battery really fast. So it's very difficult to I didn't know this was an issue until the battery was too far gone, or else I would have just had it sitting on my trickle charger so it didn't drain the battery, or just disconnect one of the terminals. So basically, to get to the root cause, and what I'll be doing in the rest of the video today is, I talked with my buddy Adam from SoCal Tires. If you haven't, come on, you're interrupting my video. I talked with my buddy Adam from SoCal Tires, and he is probably one of the most experienced and skilled guys when it comes to the late model Mercedes world. He does a bunch of really cool builds. He buys cars, basically does restorations on them, and then sells them for really clean examples that are really awesome running and driving cars. So if you guys, just a quick shout out to him, if you guys need anything for late model Mercedes, like parts or service, if you're in the Southern California area, or even aftermarket parts too, especially wheels and tires, he is your guy. So hit him up if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff. So I was talking with him because he is so knowledgeable on, you know, the common issues with these different cars, and apparently a common failure point over time, and it just kind of happens as these cars age, is the power seat modules underneath the passenger and driver side. So underneath here, it's kind of hard to see, let me get a flashlight. So underneath here you will see this cord right here, this big plug and the small plug, that is the power seat module, and there's an identical one on the other side for the driver's seat obviously as well. So this thing is supposed to shut off after a while after the car has been turned off and the ignition is no longer on. Unfortunately, these modules go bad over time apparently, and it causes the module to stay on and drain the battery, and sometimes I've seen, you know, 1.5 to 2, I believe, amps of draw. So that will drain the battery very quick, and to replace these is like $500–600. And there is a pretty common fix that I've seen where people will, this little plug here, they will cut the constant power wire and splice it to the ignition power wire. But for some reason my plug only has 2 wires, a ground and what would, I'm guessing, be the hot or positive, or the power wire of, you know, constant or ignition power. So I have to do a little more research of, you know, before I can try and do that mod, but at least what I can do is unplug the module to disconnect the power from the seats. Obviously it's going to make it difficult because then you can't adjust the seats in their position, but at least the battery won't be draining every 2 days on this car. So the ideal thing is to find this the proper way to possibly splice or, you know, cut the wires so that it doesn't stay on, and there's like a bypass, because those modules, I don't know if I said it already, but are like $500–600. So to me it's not worth it to do that, just for a power seat adjustment so that you can do it when the ignition is off. So I'm going to go to the auto parts store next. I'm going to get this battery replaced, hopefully still under warranty, and then I'm going to try and figure out a way. There's a way, obviously, you can run your, hook the battery terminals up with your multimeter so that you can see what kind of amp draw there is, and then I'll have it set up like that and then unplug the power seat module and see if the amp draw changes, and that should tell us if that's our failure point or not. So it could be the passenger or driver seat or both. So let's hopefully try and get to the bottom of this today, and then I can finally get back to making some videos on this car so it's not just sitting here in the garage collecting dust. Alright, got the battery out, so I'm going to swing over to O'Reilly's to get a replacement battery and hopefully start diagnosing why this car keeps sucking the life out of these very expensive batteries. Okay, so got a new battery for the car. Basically, O'Reilly's policy for battery replacement under warranty is they have to put it on their charging machine for like 2 hours to try and bring it back to life, but that battery was so far dead, like you guys saw, it was at 0.01 volts. There was no way it was coming back. So they gave me a new battery, so I'm going to get this put in, and then the next step is I want to hook up the multimeter in series so that I can test to see if there's an amp draw with the car, you know, in its idle state, and then I will go ahead and start unplugging the seat control modules, starting with the passenger and then the driver side. And then the other thing I've been reading is that the command like fan, I guess, and the overhead, kind of like where the SOS and the rear view mirror is. Sometimes that can be a culprit too. But I'm gonna start with the seat control modules because that looks like that's the more popular place for these things to fail, and then we'll go from there. The other thing I want to mention, you guys can tell the hood is like almost in a 90-degree angle right now. If anybody is new to Mercedes or you're looking at a C55, there's a really cool trick that basically this hood is in what it's called service mode, and you just, on the driver's side strut here, you push this button. So when it's in the regular mode, this red button would be down here. You just push it in and then slide the hood up, and then it locks in place into this upper slot, and then it gives you a lot better access to working on the car, especially up in the area where the battery is and the fuse box and air box and stuff like that. So let's go and get this battery in, and we'll see if we can diagnose the culprit. Alright, just to verify, for whatever reason we didn't get another dead battery, so got them leads hooked up. We're at 12.5 volts, so that is a good healthy battery when it's by itself. So now I'm going to look into exactly, I remember I've done this before, but I just want to double check and make sure I do it right so that I don't fry anything. So I'm going to figure out how to hook the multimeter up in series with the car so that I can test for amp draw. Okay, so it's a few days later since I shot that last clip, because I figured out after watching a video on hooking up the multimeter in series to the battery to check for amp draw that I actually needed a better quality multimeter. So I did watch Eric the Car Guy's video. I always appreciate his videos on car maintenance. He does a really good job explaining stuff. But basically from what I found from him is that he recommends a multimeter that has at least a 10 amp measuring capability. That cheapy one from Harbor Freight over there is 500 milliamps, I believe. Or is it 5 amps? 5 amps. So this one, you run the risk of possibly frying it. So just get one, I think at least with 10 amps. He does recommend 20, but this is the most economical one I could find that would do the job. So what I'm going to do is, from his video, is he said to hook up the positive terminal on your battery, so that way you don't short to positive. You know, if you do accidentally short, you short to ground. And then you're going to turn your multimeter on, and then you're going to put one lead on the negative terminal of the battery and one lead on the negative cable, and then that will show you how much amp draw that we had. And I did do this just off camera real quick to see if it worked. So and it did show an amp draw, so I'm going to try and replicate that again. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the battery connected, and I'm going to try and disconnect the passenger side seat module, see if the amp draw goes away. If not that, then the driver's side. If not that, then I don't know, I'm gonna have to do some more digging. Alright, so let's go ahead and connect our positive terminal. So then I'm gonna go ahead and flip the multimeter on to the 10 amp dial. 10 amp setting. So this is just I think it's like 30 bucks from Home Depot, so pretty economical. And then you also have to switch your port. So this is your negative port, but normally you'd use this port, but for measuring the current you'd switch to the 10 amp port. So then, like I said, I'm gonna put one terminal on the negative battery terminal, and then one lead, I should say, on the actual cable grounding to the car. And then that should show us here in amps, an amp draw. Alright, so I have the leads resting on the negative terminal cable, and then the actual negative terminal of the battery with the positive terminal hooked up to the battery. And you can see, oh, maybe we lost a, let's see. Okay, there we go. I just lost the connection. Look at that amp draw. So that's 2.2 amps on average. Sometimes it spikes higher, but that is what's killing our battery so quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, since the battery to the car is not actually hooked up, you know, obviously the lights and stuff shouldn't go on or anything, so there shouldn't be like any computers being activated by me opening the door or anything, because if the battery was hooked up, you know, opening this is going to turn on lights. It might trigger a startup sequence in the command system, so I don't know exactly the details on how that works. Okay, so when you come in the car, you look underneath the seat. Make sure you guys can see that good. Okay, so this is what it's gonna look like. And you know, so I looked up a video on YouTube, and they talk about, you know, there's a constant power wire, and then there's a switch power wire, and then your ground wire going into this small kind of like square connector here. But for some reason with the C55, there's only two cables, your ground and then a power wire. And I don't know why this one only has two, and all the other ones have three, and they're able to splice into that. So regardless, that allows them to maintain their seat functionality with a bad module. Worst case, you know, I mean, you have to plug in the module every time you want to adjust the seat, but I don't know. My goal is to just fix the car for now so that I can not have to worry about dead batteries continuing to happen. So again, you got the big plug right here. You want to remove this one here to disconnect power to the module. And all you do to do that is you just squeeze both sides. My finger or my hand blocks the camera, but just squeeze both sides and then you just pull it. So now let's go see what our multimeter reads. So from the looks of it, that did not solve it. So you can see here, it's 1 point still at 2, pretty much the same as what it was before. So let's go ahead and try the driver's side now, because it could be either or module or both. So we'll see. Okay, so again, same thing on this side, just squeeze and pull out. So let's see if that fixed it. Okay, so needless to say, that didn't fix it. There was still an amp draw going on, so I actually went in and unplugged the bigger plug from both sides. Let's just see whatever reason, because there definitely looked like a power and a ground cable going to that too. So I couldn't find anything, you know, why the C55 seats are different than all the other W203 like how-to videos on YouTube and whatnot. So there was still an amp draw, same amount, like 2.2 to 2.6 amps. And so what I did was I plugged the battery back to the car. I started up the car, just let it run. It hasn't run for, you know, a few weeks here because the battery's been dead, obviously. But I just want to have it run for a little bit. And so then I ran it, turned the car off. I took the key out without opening the door while I was sitting inside. And basically, what I noticed was, because I know the other thing, like I had mentioned earlier, that's a possible culprit, is there is a fan up in the like upper head unit area where like your lights are and the SOS button is, and some people say the fan doesn't turn off. And well, I was just sitting in there and I kind of heard a buzzing sound, and I thought maybe it was the radio, but it actually wasn't. I stuck my ear really close to the fan, and I think that might be what it is. So let me see if I can get the car to go to sleep here for a second and see if I can get that sound to mimic that sound. So you can hear the stereo is like clicking right now. But I don't know if it's going to come across on camera, but I still hear a buzzing sound. Okay, that's coming from the stereo because I think it needs to do its shut-off sequence. Okay, that went away. And then a few little like audio blip sounds. But it's very subtle. Like you have to, like it'd be very hard to track it down if I didn't have any idea that it would be up here. But basically, let's see if I can hear it. Yep, it's still running. So it's right in this little vent hole here. So I can put the mic to the camera up close. Now I have no idea if that's coming across on camera, but you can definitely hear the fan is running. It's a very subtle noise, but apparently that's a second problem if it is not the seat module. So I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to try and find the fuse based on, I'm just going to search the forums because I don't really know what this is called, like if there's a fuse particularly for this fan or if it's a fuse for this whole like unit here, which it might be. So I might lose the, you know, lights and possibly the sunroof controls, but I honestly don't really use the sunroof a lot. But I just want the car to stop dying on me so I can drive it. So I'm going to see if I can find the fuse and unplug it and see if that fan shuts off once the car has been sitting off for a while. Alright, so after doing some searching on MB World here, I found that the area that should control the that little fan should be the dome light, which makes sense. They say fuse 9, which fuse 9, so this car has 3 fuse boxes, one on the trunk, one on the side of the driver's side dash, and then one under the hood. This one, because fuses, I believe 1 through 20 are in the back, so they're on the driver's side of the trunk. There's a little thing that you just pop off. I just used a flathead screwdriver and kind of pulled it this way, and then fuse 9 actually labeled on the box here. So fuse 9 is this yellow 25 amp fuse. So I'm gonna go ahead and try pulling that and see if that indeed shuts off that fan. But before I pull that fuse, I am gonna disconnect the battery first, pull the fuse, and then reconnect the battery. Alright, battery's been disconnected. I don't know if that's like super necessary, but I always err on the side of caution with electrical stuff. So fuse 9, so it goes in sequential order here. So here's 8 and 9. Cool. Alright, so let's pull that where we pulled that. So let's see if that, once we reconnect the battery, see if the fan module turns off after the car has been sitting for a second. Alright, so let's see here. So we should see that the dome lights don't turn on, which they don't. So I'll give the car a second here. There is a fan, I believe, that cools the electronics maybe back here, but that seems to be shutting off just fine. That usually takes about 20-30 seconds. Alright, so I heard that turn off, so you could kind of hear the like not vibrating, but fan noise. And then usually from all the times when I've had this car, when the radio like kicks off on its kind of relay sequence, you hear a little like audio sound, like I said before. But let's see if we can listen up here. So I don't think I hear it. Again, I don't know. So I think what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to leave the battery connected. We have that fuse pulled. I have both seats, front seats, still unplugged, just to play it safe. And I'm going to take a voltage reading. Should be around 12.5, 12.55 volts, I think is what it was recently. So I want to see, you know, over the course of the evening here, if that drops at all. I mean, it might a little bit. I mean, it shouldn't. This battery is brand new. I just got it this past weekend. So it shouldn't drop a whole lot. If we're seeing below 12 into the 11s, we know there's still something else going on. So unfortunately, these electrical issues are a real pain in the butt because they're hard to figure out unless you one by one go through all of the fuses. So I'm trying to start by tackling stuff that are known problems by what I find on the forums. So what I've seen a lot is it's for sure, like a lot of the times it's the power seats, which it could be that. But I mean, I was still showing the current draw before, and then also that fan was another one that was listed. So I'm hoping that that solves it, because other than that, I'm at the point where I might just either disconnect the battery every time I park it, or I might just keep it on a trickle charger when it's in the garage here, but until I figure it out, because I don't necessarily want to take it in for this. And yeah. Alright, so just so I have video evidence so I can remember. Oh, come on. So we're at 12.53 volts. So in a few hours, we'll see if it's less than that. I don't know if it's going to happen that fast, but hopefully this has at least gotten us somewhere. Alrighty everyone, so it is now the end of the weekend, and the car has been like this for about 2.5 days now. So like I said earlier, I disconnected both the passenger and driver side seats, the seat control modules underneath, and then as well I also pulled fuse number 9 from the fuse block back here. It's just a 25 amp fuse, and that was in hopes to get that the command fan, which is in charge of like the auto climate control in the interior of the car, to hopefully get that to shut off, because I don't know again if it came across on camera, but that was definitely staying on well after the car was off and the ignition was off for a few minutes. So I don't want to like say completely, but knock on wood, you know, I think we solved this issue with the battery drain so far. You know, I periodically drove the car over the weekend, and the battery voltage never dropped below 12.4 volts. I'd show you guys now, but I just checked it. It's at like 12.8 because I had been driving the car a lot today. My buddy Will and I went out and did a really awesome sound compilation video, which I will be posting after this one, so stay tuned for that. And I just washed this car. It cleans up. Even at 118,000 miles, this thing cleans up so nicely. Re-polished the headlights. Those are nice and crystal clear again. So this car is just great. And then I also polished up the Rentec airbox. This thing is awesome. So yeah, I think this solved the issue with the parasitic battery drain. Now this is pretty much applicable to all the W203s, not just the C55. But again, for the C55, there's no 3-wire plug that you can splice into like a lot of the other videos show. So I'm not really sure what's up with that, but hopefully, I don't know, and I'll figure out what I want to do with the seats. Because right now, because the seat control modules are unplugged, obviously you can't move the seats at all. And then for the driver's side, the tilting telescoping wheel you also can't move. So it could be one of those things. For the time being, I just plug it back in when I want to move it. But I'm really the only one that drives this car most of the time, so I don't really have to worry about adjusting the seats a whole lot. But yeah, so without me blabbering on too much more, this is going to wrap up this video. If you guys have any comments or questions about this issue, please feel free to leave it in the section below, and I'll either do my best to answer them, or if you have any other suggestions for me on how to further kind of solve this issue without just kind of unplugging fuses and the seat control modules. So thanks again everyone. Stay tuned for that awesome sound video coming up on this car, and I will see you guys in the next one.